Alright, folks. Welcome back, everyone. 皆さん、おかえりなさい。今日は、91日目です。It is day 91. We're starting our second quarter. Today is also coincidentally 0 day for Wanikani. In fact, we also have a 0 day tomorrow as well, which works out really well because there is a new development for PSO2 NGS, and then tomorrow is the P5X update. So, all right, first rule of business: it's time to add our N4 block, right? As planned. So we're adding our N4 grammar block. And as well as, let's take us back. Fix it back here. As well as our N4 vocabulary block. Okay. There we go. And then, yeah, it looks like it's set to 3 by default. And it's 3 for vocabulary. We're doing 20. That's how the... Let's double check our math here. And we'll do batches of 5. Let's do 20. It's all of them at once. So let's make sure our math is in order here. So originally we did 5 each, and it was a little bit under a month. Let's see, if we take 1096 divided by 3. That's not how that works. Sorry, the wrong. It's the wrong number. 179. Whoops. 179 divided by 3. We get 60 days, right? So that's why we chosen 3. That's our 2-month period. And then the number was... And then we have 1096 divided by 20. That's that's approximately 55 days. Which is more or less good enough. So that's why we chose 3 and 20. 20 was a little bit rough, but I think we'll survive. Then the 3rd month is our cram month. That's what we're gonna do. Let's get into... We have overflow review from yesterday, largely because I need to liberate some time. So let's start with our lessons first. Get back into the groove of things. So our first one is demo. Something, any with question words, or no matter who. Let's see, noun demo plus suggestion. Dare demo, nan demo, doko demo, and demo. Okay. Demo is one of the many adverbial particles in Japanese. These are particles that behave like an irregular joshi, in that they appear... This joshi is a hoping verb. Interesting. In that they appear after the words that they are referencing. But their role is a little bit more specific. Demo itself has several uses, and the use that we will examine this grammar point is called example. To show example, reiji. Basically, this means presenting examples, yeah. Okay. In English, this results in a translation similar to even or something, to use as structure, simply attach demo to the end of any noun or pronoun. Right? That's the first one.
お茶でも飲みましょうか。
でも飲みましょうか。I see.
大丈夫だよ。お前でもできるよ。
お前でも Interesting. Okay. お前でもできるよ。When grouped with the standard noun as above, demo is just showing that the noun is an example of suggestion and that there are other choices, possibilities available. However, when the noun is a word like dare, doko, nani, or itsu, the translation becomes much closer to English where it's like anyone, anywhere, anything, or anytime. Right?
この簡単な漢字は誰でもわかるよ。
Everyone. 誰でもわかるよ。わかるよ。I guess because it's positive? Affirming? Interesting.
明日はどこに行きたい？どこでもいいよ。
明日はどこに行きたい？どこでもいいよ。Yeah. Yeah.
お前は本当に何でも食べるね。
I see.
いつでも電話してね。
してね。Fun fact, there is debate among Japanese native speakers about whether demo should be considered its own word or if it is actually just a combination of a particle de and mo. Yeah, fair enough. Or te and mo in the case of verbs, but we will cover that later. As de and mo together can be translated as even with a. Yeah, it would be also correct to consider it that way. Spawn. Wait. Spoon. Spoon demo. And? I feel like that was can, right? Like, yeah, kan. Zume. Anzume. Good. When grouped with nani, the pronunciation nan, yeah. The pronunciation will always change to nan. This is purely to make nandemo easier to say, yeah. Granted, nanidemo is fine. Okay, 83 coverage. Okay. Yep. Or we're gonna double check this stuff too. 33% coverage despite doing all these examples, right? New widget. And then related stuff. Yeah, demo and demo. Okay, that's interesting. This must be, yeah, this must be the second point, the other use. Yeah. Right. Do we have the unknown ka? Well, no, not yet. And we're only looking at the specific ones below. Dareka. Oh yeah, we do have an entry for somewhat of an unknown. So Dareka would be like someone, or and then doko, right? Doko ka paired with mo, and when it's negative. These are two. Yep. Okay, and then this is probably possibly in this group. All right. Easy to, likely to. Okay. Combining it with the stem, which kind of, oh, it's only, okay. It's only, it doesn't have like a negation. I'm guessing they're using, oh, hard for the other one. But the combination kind of reminds me of Fugiru. A positive, affirmative Fugiru. Yasui, okay. Yasui is an E adjective that is regularly seen attached to the mas stem. Right? Every time they write stem, they're actually referring to the mas. A verb's the form of a verb that can be used as a noun. When attached to... Oh yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that is certainly one way to look at it. When attached to this way, it carries the meaning of easy to A, where A is a verb that comes before it.
私は食べやすいサイズにステーキを切る。
サイズにステーキを切る。Fair enough.
この漫画には振り仮名がついているから読みやすいです。
That is so fast, but fair enough. この漫画にはひらがな、振り仮名ついているねついているから読みやすいです。Okay. Sometimes Yasui has a translation that's a bit closer to prone to A or likely to A in English. This nuance is regularly seen when the verb is related to emotions. Ah, yeah. Alright, right.
あの先輩は怒りやすいからめんどくさい。
Okay. あの先生は、怒りやすいからめんどくさい。かすみちゃんは、cry? 泣きやすいから、優しくしてね。Okay, I see.
かすみちゃんは泣きやすいから優しくしてね。
There's another adjective, yasui, that has the meaning of cheap. Yeah, this kanji should never be used with verbs to mean easy. Most of the time, yasui itself will be written in hirakana, and the usage of yasui is quite limited. Yeah. Fun fact, although yasui is an e adjective, yeah, it is almost never used by itself. Oh, okay. That's fair. When not attached to verbs. In such cases, it is much more natural to use the non-adjective. Oh, that explains some stuff. Yeah. Using kantan instead. That does explain some of the earlier examples. Yesterday. 昨日安いゲームを買った。How does this work? Oh, they wrote it in katakana, no, hirakana, just to demonstrate. Fair enough. To demonstrate that you can infer by context despite not having the kanji differentiating it. In this case, I would have written this kanji. I enjoy 私は簡単なゲームを好きです。Yeah, they're just illustrating. I see. Oh, yeah, in order to separate it. That's interesting. That wouldn't work. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, I see. Intriguing. That is certainly one way to get around that. Obviously, these two are expressing two different things. Nikui. Yeah, nikui is the compliment. Yes, nikui. Makes sense. Nikui and yasui. Okay. I don't imagine it's in the group at some point. What is our coverage for the examples? Still above 80%? Yep. Oh, we went with nikui. So like yasui, nikui is an e adjective. No kanji, huh? No kanji, rare kanji equivalent. Is an e adjective that is regularly attached to mas stem of the verb. However, instead of meaning easy to or prone to, it means difficult. I wonder if they're gonna make a comment about like other ways to express difficult. Those are probably have the same relationship as like antan. Okay.
この駐車場は狭いから止めにくい。
この駐車場は狭いから。お？止めにくい。Oh, right, park.
今日は具合が悪いから呼吸がしにくい。
Ooh. Oh, 呼吸。Interesting. Yeah, I haven't seen Guai in a long time. Huh. Man, that's gonna create a 33% in the future. Alright, anyways. The nuance of Nikui is that A is a task that's difficult to do because of the required skill level or similar factors. This is different from their Zurai. Zurai, which focuses on a task that's difficult due to being unbearable, hard to endure. I feel like there's still one more as well.
私には英語のリテラリーという単語がとても言いにくい。
単語がでも言いにくい。Okay. Literary?
私には英語のリテラリーという単語がとても言いにくい。
Okay.
お前には本当に言いづらいけど、お前のギターを壊した。ごめん。
Okay. Right. Fair enough. Zurai is not in my use yet. An easy way to remember the difference and nuance between Ikui and Zurai is that Nikui comes from the same kanji as... Oh, okay. I was like, huh. No kanji, like rare kanji thing. Oh, so it's from Muzugashi, which usually carries the meaning of difficult in relation to skills being required. Okay. And then the other one's just the other one. Okay. And then, of course, the antonym relations. Love it. Gotta love it. Yasui. And... oh, here it is. Yeah, gatai. I was wondering, like, what grammar portion it is. So it's an N3 one. Yeah. Gatai. Or just tai with ga. Or actually, I think it might just be the whole thing. But this is what I was referring to. I could have sworn there was another way to say difficult. 69%? Okay. Alright. Okay. So, どこでもいいよ。ね? ケーキは、作る、作りやすい。
ケーキは作りやすい。
甘くない。甘くないケーキは食べる。Oh, and then the polite, you can add this, make it polite. So, 食べ。ね。食べにくいです。ね。Oh, I guess I need the, oops. 食べり。What? Yeah, so it is 食べ。Am I having a stroke? Did I?
甘くないケーキは食べにくいです。
There's a chance my N didn't work. My N and M's are not actuating properly, so there might have been a typo. It's a point of consternation sometimes. Alright. Let's go to our vocabulary. Alright, so we have 20. Die. Yeah, next sense. Since. Occasionally I say since as opposed to sense. There's in English from in English this can be pronounced sense and no difference from sense. So many interesting things lately, like sense and since. I say since more often than I say sense for this, largely because sense is you have sense as well. Oh, there's also there's even more than that actually in English, because T's get dropped in American English, so sense can also be sense, sense. This would also sound the same as well. So weird these days. Since, sense, sense. So there's like I have a stronger stop on back here for since, sense. Okay, next. Oh, we're just gonna read this, right? Honestly, I don't even know the character study for this anymore. Die other than future. What do we have? This be like a... Alright, die is pretty cemented now. Go to the next one. Dance. Self-explanatory for that one. Gomen. Okay. Gomen. Okay. Africa. Yeah, Africa. Katara? Katara. Okay. We go through it and then we come back to read it for vocabulary. What are you? This is a custom, right? A custom. I don't not it. I'll have to reinforce a note for that. Cross-reference. Dang. Hun. Right, senpai. Oh no, no. Kohai. Kohai, not senpai. The other direction. Kohai. Oh yeah. Anime. Anime. Yaketo. Dondon. 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 増える. Pretty reliable despite not needing to pull the mnemonic. Koto? No, ato. Koto. Mendo ne? No, menkyo. Menkyo. Oh, this was recent actually, menkyo. What was the right? Permit. And then the left is kind of exempt. So like permit and exempt, this is a little bit of a twist, but when you're exempt, it's also an exemplary, right? So it's a permit to do something. Menkyo. Okay. Karera. 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 It's just the plural of males. Nabe? No. What is that? Oh, tatami? I'm not sure. Oh, wait. Oh, we haven't reached it yet. Okay. We're gonna have to write a note about that. Tatami. Smell. But naoi. No, nioi. Oh, I still remember this one. This one had something to do with like an oasis, but I don't know if that's gonna hold up. Okay. Yeah, I ended up converting it. Imi. Sure. And then kun. Depending on where it is, right, contextually. Zettai ni. Zettai ni. Right. Zettai ni. Instead of zettai ni. Zettai ni. Yeah, absolutely. With the particle. And how does that work? Distinction plus against. Oof. Or yeah. All right, so let's go back to the beginning. Look at what we have. Let's try to pick up something. Dai. How is dai placed? It's a prefix. Yeah. Okay. So they're specifically referring to it, and a suffix. Yeah. True. Depending on at the end, it would be since something, and then if it's before, it's next. Actually, is there an example? Oh no, there isn't. Good. A prefix used to indicate that something is approaching or will happen soon, or then something that has happened and following. It's a suffix. Okay, that's okay. Read is pretty good. Dance. Okay, a non-Japanese word, right, for a form of rhythmic movement that is often accompanied by music used for entertainment, expression, or cultural rituals. And it doesn't seem like it has anything else. It can be a pseudo verb, fair enough. And it's intransitive as the pseudo verb. Oh no, it's comma. Intransitive as in the dance itself. Gomen. Okay, let's see if there's something weird about this. A casual verbal or written expression of regret for something that was done or said, often to make amends. Right, but what else? What else do we have? Okay, the first one's fine. May I come in? Gomen kudasai. Interesting. That is, we have to keep note of these. We're gonna discover, we're not reading these example sentences because we're just gonna discover them. So it will look permission, leave, license, onkeego. Interesting. I wonder how that works. Dismissal, discharge. Interesting. Not wanting, objecting to. Okay, the last one is right. Like the last one, I'm on board. Like, gomenda, yeah. But the 3 and 4, huh? Okay. Self-explanatory. A landmass which is often associated with the very beginnings of mankind. Fair enough. Okay, so do I need katara? Do I need something for katara? I might. The visible or external appearance of something, often consisting form and visage. Yeah, that's fine. What do people always say instead of visage? Visage? I feel like sometimes I hear visage. I don't know if that is acceptable, but visage. Let's see. What is this? K? Let's add a quick note here. Pretty sure it's K for the onyomi. Cool. Yeah, K. Kata. Ja. Shape. The K was made into a shape using a kata. Okay. Just to throw it in. We gotta cover up the kunyomi weakness as we go. That's one of the separate tasks for vocabulary words. Cover up the kunyomi weakness. Nearly half of my vocabulary words, nearly half of the kunyomi vocabulary words are weaker than the onyomi counterpart. Naderu is gonna do a verb that means to grow, to know, understand, or reduce the difficulty of something over time, right? Accustomed is the character there. To get used to grow accustomed to, right? To become skilled in, yep. Like, fair enough. And then to become tame, interesting. To become domesticated. Does it use a different character? Yeah. To become tame. Nareru. Which one is this? Is this the... Yes, it is tame. It's horse and river. Ado, yeah, ado verb, auxiliary, to get used to doing. Yeah, after the ma stem. Fair enough. So this can be added in auxiliary, like sugiru. This is like sugiru. I kind of understand what they mean by auxiliary now. I'm still getting used to some of these keywords, but now we're leaning in on the other keywords like auxiliary, adjectival, adverbial, suffix, prefix, that type of thing. But auxiliary word makes sense. Okay. I'm gonna add a note. Have to stay vigilant on our kunyomis. So this is kan. Overlaps, and then we have reru, which I have to retroactively do. And we have not. Kan. Oops. Dude. Kan. Okay. They're fairly short. They're fairly short. They've become very efficient. And Cole, Cole and Hi, they're fine. Cole, Hi. Actually, now we're kind of dropping a lot of. So the onyomi reinforcements will be very specific onyomis that are a little bit tricky, like rare onyomis. But most of the most common onyomi are fine, and they are double reinforced by Chinese association. So Cole, Hi, a person who is younger or less experienced when someone else in other context, right? This is the ones that come after, so the generation that comes after, or the like sort of the companion or the member of the group companion. So this has an element of, or a lifetime, you could argue a lifetime, so the after lifetime, the after generation. The generation that comes after are junior to the generations that come before. Senior, senpai. Okay, this one's pretty standard. Oya is a special read, but Oya is really important, so we're not gonna write it. It's fine. Oya is John. Oh, the dealer. Oh, that's cute. And then founder makes sense. And then the pet owner. I got you. A biological legal guardian who raises, and cares for a child, among other things, who like take care of things. So, in general, that could be a founder or an inventor who also is responsible for things, and dealer and bankers makes sense. And then the pet owner for sure. Okay. Anime. I guess that we don't need any explanations for anime. And then jaquetto, no requirements there. Dondon might be, rapidly and steadily is kind of what I remember about Dondon. That's how I get to drumming, but continuously one after another. An onomatopoeic adverb. A toll adverb. Oh, okay. Alright. Right. Fine. Although Doki Doki is another thing too, but that deals with, most of the time I hear that dealing with the pounding of one's heart, the rapid as well as rapid pounding of one heart. Doki Doki. The Dondon, Dondon is usually around Christmas. I think of Drummer Boy related things. Or Dondon when you're what are those? Dang it. Taiko drums. Okay. Fueru, for whatever reason, Fueru, whenever I see this, I'm like, yeah, that's increase. I don't know what is it about this, so we're not going to add a note for this, but this is uncharacteristically familiar. There's something, I'm hyper right now. This radical is, you have to be hyper vigilant about this radical. This radical is so versatile. The other side, these are complementary radicals, so they're you can throw it anywhere. All puns intended. You can throw dirt in. So fueru now, although there is a chance I could forget the ending though. We'll see. A verb expressing to become greater in size or quantity, and it's very unique in its usage, so you don't really mix it up with a lot of things. It's not like suru or yoru or yaru or haku or kairu. All right, and then the oto. Sometimes I say ato out of visualizing the kana. So whenever I say sentence, like whenever I say sounds and stuff, I actually see the kana. Like when I look at a kanji, I see its kana. So that's kind of the weird thing. I'm not sure how often people do that. A lot of times you get that use of where someone says like, oh, I know my hirakana and my katakana when you see it, and I'm like, I see kana when I look at a kanji. Like, so, and it comes with pros and cons, because when I think of oh and oh and when if I rush too much, I can kind of confuse them on like glance. Like if you add a stroke here, right, that's the structure is kind of similar. So sometimes I would say ato even though I'm looking at oto in my head. Oto. Yeah, whenever I read kanji, I see kana. When I see kana, it's a lot harder when you see kana, but it's kind of still a skill. So when you look at, when you see oto and then you sound it out, right? Oh, can you visualize this? Among other things, there are going to be other things that might pop up. For this case, oto is pretty oto for this very case is kind of unique, so you wouldn't necessarily bump into a lot, but obviously there's a lot of homonyms, right? Or there's a chance that there's a homonym. Obviously the reason why I'm doing that exercise is I'm not thinking of this, right? And I'm not thinking just this, because it would be this technically. And then remember that when you're using romaji, all can be all. So that's a problem a lot of times. And this could be all. So all to. What the limitations of like English for something like to, right? To shiba. Right, to. So you get used to visualizing kana, and a lot of times there's comments about like furigana being a crutch. I'm like, yeah, if you're reading it, it feels like when you're trying to synthesize or create it, that's a different process than reading it. So constructing it or outputting it is very different than reading it and then confirming. I think that's it sort of mentioned that yesterday about Bunpro and explicit instructions. Explicit instructions are great, but it relies on recognition, which means that when you go to output it without triggers or recognition, proper recognition, you're no longer confirming, you're creating. So when you output, there's no confirmation other than like something dynamic that doesn't involve it. So when you say oto and you ask someone to write what the kana is, they would have to constructed. And I think the vast majority, in my opinion, the vast majority of people that I have encountered, they use recognition as their primary source. So it's easy to them because they're reading and confirming, aka Anki mode is what I often think about. Anki mode. You're grading your own performance, but you're grading your recognition performance. And then later down the road, after spending like, I don't know, 1 year plus of relying on recognition, then they start the process of output. And then the comments are like, oh, well, it's so simple. I would recognize it. I know all these things. And then suddenly like, but such a simple task, such a short task to output it afterwards. I disagree. You have to form the habit of doing so. And habits they're not like habit formation is dependent on your ability to form a habit, not this stuff. It does help when you think a task is easy or hard to form the habit, I suppose. But generally speaking, most of the time, way to determine if someone relies on recognition is to ask them, what does this look like? Like, what I mean is, if you look at this, what else looks like this? Right? And you think of another kanji that looks like this. That would be a great litmus test for seeing if someone is completely reliant on recognition. I can think a couple, some cheeky ones, the ones that I have trouble with, for sure. Like, you might not think this looks similar. Right, you might not think this looks similar, but with someone who's completely relying on recognition, they could get these mixed up. Or like even probably something like this. I don't know if this exists. This is the stuff that I typically drill myself with when I'm looking at kanji studies. I look at the relationship between kanji or hanzu all the time. So some of them become progressively easier or more dynamic, like easier to recall because they're more dynamic over time. Yeah, I'm not sure if this one exists. You put eye under the giant? Huh. Or the stand. Alright, oto makes sense. Fame. Oto ni kiku? Oto ni kikoeta. Be heard. Ah, yeah. Have heard of. I see. Fame. It makes sense. So people heard of you, like something that has been heard before. Or notoriety, right? Vibrations that travel through the air or other mediums and can be perceived by the ears. Fair. Menkyo is tough for me. That's fine. An official document granting permission or authority to do something, because there's multiple men is the rough one. Kyo carries the meaning, so that helps with this permit. But exemption can be both negative and positive. So men, when it's combined with something that's neutral, it can be a little tough. This, luckily, like at least fortunately for me, it's seen as a permit. So an exemption permit is a permit. The license gives you the exemption of doing something, right? But you could see it as a negative, right? To be exempted from permission, which is the tricky part. if you're doing character studies, that would mean that you're not permitted. Or it could be seen as an admonition. So that can be a little tricky there. Because oftentimes exemption, or men is neutral, at least in my opinion. Men is neutral and is modified by the thing next to it. The reason why is the default, at least in my opinion, when people think of men, they think about gomen, right? Like sorry, or making an excuse. So that would be a negative spin. And if you attach a negative to a permission, it can come off as not permanent. At least that's the line of thought that caused me to pause on this. This was a recent Wanikani level. I think it was last level. Is probably like 42 or 43, something like that. Took me for a loop, but now I see that men is a little bit more neutral than anything. Okay. I'm going over this for my own benefit. I like to review some of the stuff whenever I see a trouble, quote unquote, like a previously difficult or some sort of word that I really hyper focus on. It's because I'm drawing attention to it. I make sure that I'm more consistent. Karera used to be like one of the earlier ones, but Duolingo drills the heck out of Duolingo drills pronouns so hard. Like it's really hard to forget like kanojo, kare, hoka, like anything that is in the beginning that is pointing to someone, like someone, anywhere, someplace, like because they're oriented from English. So these things get drilled so hard to the point where you, like if they come up in Japanese, like, oh, okay, that's kind of a freebie, but you don't, most of the time you might not even need to specify these. Use in reference to males or mixed sex groups, right? Male is the default, so that's one of the nuances. When there are males and females, you would use the male indicator. Tatami did not get tatami yet, but it is on the list. So do I have, I doubt this has a pronounced onyomi. I really doubt it. But let's go double check. Oh, there is Jo. Oh, it's a counter for maths. The heck? Oh no, there's another read too. Oh no, there isn't. Joel is interesting. Do you look like Joel? Alright, we'll write something. How do we break you down? You got a field, a forehead, and what is that? A bookshelf? How do we go about that? The top hat? Top hat and a bookshelf? Okay. I'll just get ahead of it. So we got rice patty, forehead or crown are kind of attached to each other, and then we have top hat and bookshelf. Okay. And then we're gonna use jaw. Okay, that actually works out pretty well. And then we got top. So we're gonna link tatami. Okay. And then tatami. Actually, we're not gonna link tatami, it's just gonna be tatami. Pretty solid. Alright, so in the rice patty. Joe. Rice patty. Joe. Some reason likes to wear top hat to cover his forehead. Made of tatami. Okay. Alright, next one. Where are we at? An hour? Nioi is gonna... I don't remember a kun for this. Oh, if there is a kun. Not that I'm aware of, so... Let's clarify this. I think that's a kun. We got ni. Wait. Yeah, we got I, ni, o, mel. That's not great. That's good enough. Okay. Kimi, that's what I mean, pronouns. Kimi. You... Okay, yeah, and then Buddy was covered later. Monarch. Original meaning, I see. And then this is the... Yeah, this is an obsolete term. Okay. And then we have kun added as a suffix. A suffix that's attached to young man. Despite female of lower status. And archaic. And then zettai ni is kinda rough. An expression emphasizing the certainty or firmness of a state. Granted, it is in its onyomi. I got it. Alright. Okay.
あなたの来年の抱負は何ですか?
That's a prefix.
母は今ダンスを踊っています。
君の宝物をなくしちゃった。ごめん。
Let's just say 宝物。Yeah.
アフリカは南にある。
Eh? Oh. Whoops. What? Wait. Did I write the wrong thing? I thought it was... Oh, did I write the wrong thing for this? Oh, I did. Katachi. Dang it. I did write the wrong thing. Oh, wait. Hold. I did write the wrong thing. Dang. I thought it was da for whatever reason. It's fine. Well, that's why you go through this stuff, for sure.
ハートの形のハンバーグを作る。
I remember, you have to cut the cheese into a specific shape for the cake. It's always nice to have an immediate review afterwards, right? Double check. 新しい場所に used to.
新しい場所になれる。
彼は僕の高校の時の部活の後輩だ。
部活の Interesting. 部活の as opposed to like sakuru or something like that.
親になった気分はどうですか？
I wonder how casual that is.
アニメを見る。
冬用のジャケットが欲しいです。
時間が rapid. 時間がどんどん I see.
時間がどんどん過ぎていく。
Oh, even with Sugi. Cake.
お年玉の額が増える。
ピアノの音がする。
Have to picture the characters here. Or
あなたの車の免許が下りたのはいつですか？
あなたは彼らが何者か知っていますか？
この畳は新しいですか？それとも古いですか？
焼肉のどういったことについてしまった。For sure.
焼肉の匂いがコートについてしまった。
Happens all the time, man. It's such a weird lingering smell.
君の名前は？
葉月くんは私の友達です。
その、その、わ、あ、ワク、ワクチン、ワクチンは、ワクチン、ワク、yeah, ワクチン、interesting.
そのワクチンは絶対に安全だと言われている。
Interesting. ワクチン。Okay. Hooray! We did our lessons. Now let's do some catching up here. Ready, set, go. Oh boy. Oh. して席。うん。I thought it was not self-determined feat. Oh no, it's not self, but you.
今は夏休みじゃないので自由席もガラガラでしょう。
Really? Mm,
スープが残る。
okay.
私は2時半から3時半までランニングをした。
Oh, goodness gracious. Oh no. Oh no, wait. I got it.
私は経済について何も知りません。
Oh man, economics, man. Economics. It. That one fit. No. Okay, how about maybe like really?
健康に気をつけてお元気でいてください。
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
東京から大阪までの片道は2時間です。
先生、1年生の方は放課後にこちらに集まってください。
城を作る。
みなこっちに来て。
落とし物が見つかる。
I was gonna go with tempted on Sakasu. And
医者、これで診察は終わりです。患者、ありがとうございます。
no. Oh wait.
夫が妻に終電がある時間に帰ってきてください。
I have to go through all of them. Man, I went through Sen Sha and Den, which are all things related to trains. Ouch, I missed the E. Oh. The extra E. Ah!
あのかっこいいジャケットは僕の姉のものだ。
What? Oh, there was a
父
typo.
が子供に電車から地下鉄に乗り換えましょ
うん。
救急車がすぐに家に来ました。
Came together by Matsumaru, ne? No? All my values came. Shinyu. You. Weighted value. Yeah, Kachika and then in. In. Yeah, Kachi and Kan. Chikan. Kanga. Come together. It's looking like gathered up, but maybe. Thing. Oh. Wait. Intriguing. Okay. That's not it. I was thinking blowing nose. What? Wait. Just kidding.
う。彼女の英語の発音はネイティブじゃない。
Wait. Wait, I'm like suddenly just drawing a blank.
コンサートの会場で友達と写真を撮る。
Doesn't get it. Need more.
家事を手伝う。
僕は何学校学校のことをOh no 続けるOh no できる
僕はできるだけ長くこの仕事を続けるつもりだ。
2週間のホームステイをする。
それからそれにOn that note, so maybe like Huh. On that note. Oh man. On that note. Oh no. Maybe like それでは
それではまた明日。
Okay. Oh, because yeah. I see. I think it's just
人々に親切にする。
喋るのをやめる。
50-50. I feel. Yep.
その生徒は大きな声でお願いしますと僕に言った。
母が娘に、抗生物質を飲んでから寝ましょう。
Man. 抗生物質 something else.
1年に1度は海外に行きたいです。
Oops. Oh. Why?
レストランで店員が客
Oh,
に
mase. Whoops. I
いらっ
kept
しゃいませ
typing. I keep typing mas instead of mase.
日が沈むまでカーテンを閉めないでください。
あなたはどの交通系 IC カードを使っていますか？
このツアーはいくらですか？
Oh, yeah. Or
「私は硬い言い方より砕けた言い方の方が好きだ」。
oh, the whole phrase.
僕の妻は嘘をつくのが下手なのですぐに嘘がわかる。
A bit of 50-50 at the moment. I missed the Anna there.
あなたは2ヶ月前どこにいましたか？
かわいそう。
かわいそうに彼女はまた振られた。
Dang it. Mm. Mm. Okay. Okay. I show something. Or maybe like
東京から箱根へ特急で行く。
maybe this is doing like
手術を受ける。
this is a 50-50.
自動車と家を同じ都市に買うのは良いアイディアではない。
idea.
ぬるいラーメンやうどんは美味しくありません。
Oops. Ah.
この森はとても広い。
Oh no.
今の季節は春です。
Wrong spring.
門を通る。
Oh, a person who laughs. Okay. Yeah, I did. Pretty good. Nice jingle. I already respond to it. Why am I drawing?
私の母はよく笑う人だ。
彼氏を探す。
そこにどうやって行くの？
なくちゃ。I don't know if you can do that. Nope. Huh. Maybe.
もう高齢だから体に気をつけなくちゃ。
つけなくちゃ。
僕はテストの結果が返ってくるのを楽しみにしている。
する。50-50?
来週までに1500くらいのレポートを書かなくてはいけない。
33%. I guess goal is the counter. Customers. Customers. Wait, Chaku. Oh wait, is it just Chaku? Oh. Doesn't deal with. I think it deals with buying. Or. Oh, it's not. It's just Kyaku, not Kyaku. Doing.
映画館に客が入る。
手を洗った後はハンカチで手を拭いた方がいいよ。
この人参は甘いです。
Ah. Oh no. Yes.
ツイート。誰かレポートを書くのを手伝ってください。
ここはまだ一度も burn をしたことがあります。 Oh.
僕はまだ一度もやけどをしたことがありません。
I was thinking of the phrase to get burned, but it didn't fit there. Up. What? Oh, wait. I know.
妻の茶碗より僕の茶碗の方が大きい。
運動が嫌いだがバスケのサークルに入った。
Oh, no. Impression. No, that's dark. Wait. I think that's... Oh, no. I feel like men is definitely in it. Oh, no, it might not be... Wait. Be like... Oh, no, wait. It might be... Oh, no, wait. That's opinion. Wait. Is that? No. Can't use that. Can't use that either. No, that would be like testing something. Just looking for a noun. Question. It's definitely thought. I think soul. Could be E. Not explanation. Not introduction. Mission. Probably gonna go on to there's a bit of overlap. This would be a bookmark situation. Oh. E. Gotta be like a E for idea, maybe a soul for thought. Not iken, which is opinion or view. I don't think. I already tried it. There are ways expression. I thought maybe like whole or kata, like whole like way, like hoi or whole soul. Another. Could it be C? Moku? Moku and Ken? not like orientation or direction. Man, I really thought it was opinion comment. Kind of even worked on that. No. I don't think it has image in it. Appearance? Shape? Nature? I don't think it has image in it. Yeah, I think I'm going further and further. I already tested if I had a typographical error, which I'm pretty sure. What? It's definitely not image. Like insho would be like kankai? I think kankai is the word. Oh, it could be kanji though.
楽しい漢字の写真を見る。
So more so feeling sense. Add this to the. I was looking for 2 characters, but we're talking about feelings here. Of all the times to not immediately think of kanji. All the times. Okay. Right near the end.保険証。
病院へ保険証を持っていく。
What? I thought we just went over this. Oh, no. It's probably because it's
昨日のテスト問題には優しい問題がたくさんあった。
Just kidding.
医者、下痢をしているのでこの薬を飲んでください。
How do we long time this? Long time. Hisashi ni. Oh, is it? Okay. How about passage of time? Something occurred.
「久しぶりに友達に会う」
Oh, okay. It's fine. I had the wrong like the wrong, whatever you call it, the wrong part of speech. Part of speech. So what was the one we had problems with? Kanji. Kanji. How did kanji work? Right? I hope you're doing well. I see you're online every day working. How do you find the motivation and consistency to achieve a goal you need to reach? Set smaller goals, I suppose. Kinda interesting. I'm not entirely sure what my goal that I'm trying to reach is at the moment. If I were to give you a 5, like the TLDR, right, the hot take would be to focus on the process that takes up more than that takes up the most time. That's the like the 30-second version. The hot take is to focus on the process that takes up the most time. With that focus, you find your motivation each and every day. So the 5-minute version, motivation each day to have something to do. So we're going into like the 5-minute edition here. If you're focused on things that you're doing most of the time, then you would have motivation each day to have something to work on. Having something to do combats boredom, complacency, grinding. These boredom and complacency creates what's known as the grinding effect that most people refer to as grinding. The reason why this works is it develops interest, daily interest. So this would be known as process-oriented thinking. So the reason why I'm emphasizing this is you made a comment when you asked the question. your question involved achieving a goal that I want to reach, or a goal that I need to reach, right? And those two things are separate things. So a goal you need to reach is something that will only last a split second or a split moment. It is a short moment. It is an end point. So this goal only represents, in one's mind, only represents a short or small part. And the way to find motivation and consistency, when they're both in existence, you need a constant source. A constant source. So constantly focusing on your goal does not provide a constant source of motivation. What you do each day is where you would more likely find your source of motivation. So each and every day, I try to focus on what I can do, what I notice in the daily activities. So, to give you an example, I don't often tell myself I am doing the same thing. Or same thing. For a long time, because my goal is the same. So whenever someone gets demotivated, when you consistently get demotivated, you become less consistent. Your motivation goes down when each and every day you keep telling yourself you're doing the same thing so you can get closer to the same goal. Each and every day I have a different goal in mind, a goal that concerns improving on a daily basis while going towards a goal. I do have a long, yearly goal or something down the road, but that doesn't provide the motivation or consistency. It's to know that I am not trying to do the same thing each and every day. When something becomes samey, it becomes grindy. So it's your flag, it's your indicator that you need to change something or you need to improve something. Usually you want to aim to improve something as opposed to simply changing for the sake of changing, right? But it does involve a change. So each and every day I get up and I see it as an opportunity to improve on what I do 90% of the time. The goal, keeping your eye on the goal, in my opinion, will give you your direction, but it rarely produces anything. The only thing it's going to produce is once you pass that line, you're going to look for a new goal. So motivation is not related to the goal, in my opinion. It can provide like 5% of your motivation, knowing that you're becoming more and more fluent each day, or like you're learning more and more Japanese words. That is like, it only gives you like little bits of motivation. It's not sufficient. Knowing how to always tell yourself like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna do what I did yesterday, but let's see what I can do today. And then tomorrow you're like, okay, I'm gonna do everything so far that I've done, but what else do I notice about what I can do today? And then again and again and again, and then one day when you go, so variety is the spice of life? No, not necessarily, Beth. That's a little kind of concerning. So when I mean That's what I mean by if you're making change for the sake of changing, that is one of the cons of process-oriented thinking. So oftentimes I talk about the cons of goal-oriented thinking. That's when the goal is the only source of motivation or consistency, and then you counter it, you balance it with process-oriented thinking. But if you have process-oriented thinking and you don't focus on your goal, like you just forget about your goal and have a direction, that's variety is a spice of motivation. Because variety in a spice of motivation is directionless. So what happens is you could get the other example where there's too much variety. And too much variety is when you get a dilettante. And what does a dilettante look like? A doom scroller. Or a person who only does what they like. Something like, oh, I like this video game, so now I'm gonna go play a different video game. That's a lot of motivation because it's interesting. It's like, oh, now I'm gonna go play another video game. And another video game that's different from the last one. And another one. Then you become a dilettante, which is meaning that you can't stay focused on anything. So it is important, what Meg said, it is important to remember to keep your goals in mind, the goals you need to reach. It gives you direction. It guides your direction. However, motivation and consistency doesn't necessarily come from the goal. It does give you some motivation, but it won't be there to pat you on your back each and every day. But when you think of variety, selective variety, so it's not just any variety, it's a variety with goals, with like goals along the way. Sometimes people think that variety is a spice of life because they're still looking for direction. So when I think of the idiom, how to become young again, right? Like when you're 40 years old and you're stuck in your ways, then variety is the spice of motivation. Because when you try new things, there's a chance something will catch on. But since Up is talking about achieving a goal, the variety has to come with a direction. So we have to be careful that it's not just any variety, it's the variety that involves getting you closer. So like if you want, we can take the analogy of spice. When you want a dish that is sweet, throwing in salt, paprika, bitterness will not get you to a sweet dish. But you can add sugarcane, honey, fruit juice, and stuff. They're all sort of sweet. So there's variety in the sweetness to make you motivated. So like when you're, for example, when you're eating a dish, right? You want to make, I don't know, sweet porridge. What I'm describing is some days you can put in regular sugar. Some days you're going to try honey. Maybe honey is a little bit better than sugar, right? Like straight up confectioner sugar. Or maybe you can mix sweet potatoes into your porridge as a different source of sugar. So yeah, variety does produce motivation, because the idea is when you go to eat your porridge, you're like, okay, how many times have you eaten your porridge? Because your porridge has probably gotten really good by now, you know, like constant, consistent. But then your porridge gets lame, it gets grindy, it gets old. And like, how do you spice it up? You can say, well, I still want sweet porridge, so maybe I would try honey next time. So that's the balance. If you want a source of motivation that is consistent, is to remind yourself when you become demotivated, it's time to encourage yourself to do selective variety to improve what you're doing to become more consistent. So more like refining your consistency. Yeah, iterating and refining. Yes. So one of the hallmarks is that you must refine and then iterate. And iterate means that there's an expansion. And then you go back to refine, iterate, right? So you're refining until you become demotivated. And it's not because refining leads to demotivation. The act of refining causes a byproduct. I call it like a side effect. When you're constantly refining the thing you're doing, it only is going to get as good as it's going to get, right? And then it gets boring. It's like, oh, I already know the best. There's nothing else to look forward to. I'm already eating good with the best, but why am I feeling like it's boring? Then you iterate. And iterate meaning involving expansion. So you can change something and it might not become the best, right? It might get worse. Like if you think you've already got the best sandwich in the world, it still can become boring because it's the same thing over and over again. But if you change something and you iterate it, it might not be the best at first, but it could be different. And it could be a different type of best. So you're not like changing your whole game or something. I think variety is a spice of motivation or spice of life. Often people get it confused with, oh, I'm just going to change everything. Like, how do I be alive again? Dump English and learn only Japanese. That's not personally what I'm saying. Because what you're doing then is you're throwing consistency away. Like, you did the opposite, in my opinion, of what you're trying to do. When you think of variety for the sake of variety's sake, that means like, oh yeah, I should uproot my life and just abandon what I used to do so I can go and chase after some big change to get myself. It will definitely provide motivation at first. It'll be exciting and stuff, but you have no consistency, right? You basically reverted all your consistency, which is what I talked about for it revolved around that for like an hour or two yesterday when I was summarizing Bunpro, where most people, when they go to iterate, they drop what they did before. So of course, naturally, you would expect a consistency loss. Like, I'm learning Japanese by not abandoning English. I'm using and refining my English and iterating with Japanese in order to make the transition. So this is me personally. I don't think it makes learning Japanese any faster, right? That's a asterisk. I can't determine if it makes learning Japanese faster, but I can assure you that 99% of the time it is going to be more consistent. Because consistency requires that you use something that is already consistent to iterate and expand on. So for me, one of the biggest points of demotivation and consistency is that when someone goes to learn something, they think that everything has to be new. So the most effective way to learn something for the youngins out there is that they abandon everything they've known in order to immerse in everything that they want. That can work as long as your motivation source is not coming from the immersion. Because you don't know what motivation is yet. Like, you don't know what your consistent motivation is coming from yet if you abandon everything else that you have done before. Everything you've done before is the consistent things. So, and that's a sink or swim approach, which does work. It works for some people, and then they'll encounter burnout. Most of them will encounter burnout. I would say 8 out of 10 kids who abandon all of their early disciplines and jump in and immerse themselves, 8 out of 10 of them are going to, or 1 out of 5 is going to burn out. because when they burn out, it'll give them an opportunity to slow down and figure out what is consistent about what they did. And then they're going to do it again. And if they still burn out, it has to become another lesson for how to build consistency. Because if you're going to abandon everything you've ever done, then you can't possibly say consistent. Now, if you abandon everything, then that spice will bring motivation though, but it will sacrifice all your consistency. So the idea is to balance both. You're trying to take what you do consistently and introduce enough spice through iteration. And usually your idea is supposed to try to change it for the better. So every single day, I've said this before, I spend nearly 80%. I spend more than 80% of my time practicing. And 20% of my time learning. And I'm not talking about Japanese here. I'm talking about being consistent and motivation. I am more consistent than most, I would say, is because I practice being consistent. I practice learning how to, like, okay, today we could do something. Today is the first day of the second quarter. So I have lots of ideas that have been working. So I'm like even more motivated than I was yesterday. But the thing is, I'm typically more motivated as I continue longer, because most of the time, each day I have a new stacking motivation to do something. And that is the goal for becoming relentlessly consistent. I rarely ever stop. Like if I go on vacation right now, I'll still be thinking about Japanese and what I'm gonna do about Japanese, or when I get back, I'm still brainstorming about recording. Actually, when I go to Otakon, which is gonna happen this year, it happens every year. When I go to Otakon, I'm brainstorming ideas on what I'm gonna come back. So when I like go to Otakon, I take photos, I think about things, and then when I come back, I would have prepared them to like share with everyone and talk about it with everyone. So most of the things I do, I try to give it a reason to work, like, because that's where my motivation comes from. My motivation comes from my daily routines and activities. I think one of the 30-second thing, the reason why my 30-second hot take is focused on the process, is because whenever someone comes by and they say, how do you find the motivation? The first thing I think about is if they mention a goal and then they mention consistency and motivation, which is what Meg does. Meg has triggered. Obviously, there are other examples, but this would mean that the person I might be speaking to, or the person asking a question, might not find their daily routines or what they do on a daily basis interesting at all. Like, not interesting at all, because they're focused on their goals. Like, each day you study Japanese, all you can think about is how many years it's going to take before you become fluent in Japanese. I barely think about that. My excitement is I get up, it's like, I wonder what word I'm going to learn today because it's lesson day. And then I need to pay attention to a lot of things to make the lesson better, because today is April 1st. Actually, I was thinking of April Fool's Day today, but I tried to like come up with some April Fool's joke, but I didn't really have the opportunity to use them. You have to look forward to each day in the bigger scheme. So yeah, both. The answer is both. You want to keep your goals in mind, and you want to be realistic. The goal is like one day in many years down the line. In the meantime, what are you going to do to motivate yourself and be consistent every single day before that day comes? And it's tough. I think it's genuinely and consistently tough for how the internet portrays things. The internet makes it seem like everything's an endpoint. So the only thing worth reporting, the only thing worth mentioning, the only thing worth focusing on is at the end. And that's what I mean by goal-oriented thinking. So the one video that you make is the last video, the edited, curated, super refined, high quality video, which you can do. How do those people make those high quality, super awesome like videos? Or how does a director spend 7 years making the best film they've ever made? Is largely because they are more enthusiastic about the day-to-day. They spend 99% engrossed in working on something every single day. It's fantastic to see what becomes of it after they publish it, but then their work is done. The work is out of their hands, right? So that's kind of what I typically talk about. Like, I don't care if you see every single video before the last video I recorded for Bunpro, because the last video I recorded yesterday, day 90, is the summation of all the things that I have done for 90 days in Bunpro. It was decided that was the goal. Use Bunpro for 90 days and see what I can gather. And then there were other goals in that review. However, during that, the time just keeps ticking up. Like, okay, it's day 5, day 6. I have more things to do in the regular day, pay attention to and do in the regular day that I barely even have time to think about. Oh, 90 days. I wonder if I'm going to make it. That stuff tells me that I value that one day more than what's going on. And so we're getting into the 30-minute, right? The 30-minute edition. So 30-minute edition typically talks about patterns of people who ask that type of question, is that they probably try to rush through it. They count down the days. They worry about things that may or may not happen. And all of these things will pile up to destroying your motivation. Like, oh, what if I start this now? Well, in 90 days, will I get there? Like, maybe not. And then one day passes by and you haven't even started. And then, like, you start doing something. It's like, this isn't as good. If I keep doing this, it's going to get worse. With that, you wasted one day. Like, okay, let's start with this one. It's like, yeah, I kind of like this better, but it's still not gonna. Meanwhile, you only have 88 days left, and like, yeah, I think I can do better. Let's start over tomorrow and look for a better start. 87 days left, 86 days left. So it keeps going. That's so you don't focus on improving the process that you're going to start. You want to start perfectly to meet your goals. And that is the brain trap. I think that is the mental trap that I feel what the internet maybe subconsciously or consciously convince people to do. And I have interacted with people who literally know that's their problem, but that doesn't mean they don't continue to do it. Like, legitimately, they're like, I know, I like, every time I tell them, you don't know that. You don't know that if you do this, you're not going to improve over time. And they're like, well, I do know. And I'm like, well, if you think you do know, then it's going to happen. Like, you're going to prove to yourself that you're supposed to do the thing to find out if it does happen. You don't know. And they're like, yeah, I get it. I can't predict the future, but I can't help but worry about this. I'm like, yeah, that's the vicious cycle. So motivation happens with hope and things to do. Demotivation happens when you keep counting down and keep worrying about not being able to make it, failures, how you don't look forward to something. Like a surefire way to become demotivated is you can test it. When you get up and you tell yourself, I have to do this because that will get me to the goal, then you're losing motivation every time you do it. That's one of the telltale signs. When you tell yourself that you have to convince yourself to do something to get closer to your goals, that is demotivating. If it's not demotivating enough to stop you from doing it, that's kind of good, right? That means that you have other sources of motivation, but the thing you're doing is not motivating you at all. For myself, I turn on the stream and I'm like, yes, I look forward to the stream. In fact, I constantly think that I'm going to run out of time trying to do more, not run out of time not getting to my goal. I actually, most of the time when someone says the goal I need to reach, I never need to reach my goal most of the time, because when I get to my goal, it's going to be bigger than the goal I originally set. Goals keep moving for me. So by the time at the end of 90 days, it will be bigger than what I originally planned at day 0. Because in no way can I predict how much I'm going to improve, what I'm going to encounter when I'm constantly trying my best. So goals are to give you direction. In my opinion, like for myself, a goal is to give me a direction. But that direction, I don't aim for that. Like, think about becoming fluent in Japanese. When you are at day 0 and your goal is fluent in Japanese, that seems like a really far way apart, right? Like really far apart. That might be 6-7 years from now. That's already difficult. I get that. And you're gonna keep thinking about that moment each and every day. Yeah, I probably quit after a month too, because that would be the only thing you value. You value nothing about the things you're doing along the way to get there. The ultimate goal is, if you don't make it to becoming fluent 5 years down the road, you've wasted all your time up there. I get up each day. If I quit right now, I have already done so much. It's gonna, if I decide I don't want to learn Japanese anymore, let's just move to Spanish. Most of the things that I focus on now will be applied to Spanish, right? Because I worked on motivation, I worked on consistency, things like all of this stuff is relevant if I'm gonna learn another language. Like, so I build that. I build what is important, what you're going to do 90% of the time. Spending 90% of your time wasting your time, quote unquote, wasting your time thinking about something that may or may not happen, which is your goal, by the way, like becoming fluent in Japanese. When someone asks, like, what are your goals? Do you want to become fluent in Japanese? Do you want to visit Japan? It's like, well, I may or may not visit Japan, and I may or may not ever become fluent. It's irrelevant to, it's not my major source of motivation, because doing it makes me feel great. Working at something, making it better each and every day, regardless of how terrible I am in the beginning, is the most rewarding thing. It's the process for me that is most rewarding. I gain motivation and consistency from my process, not from that lofty goal at the end. So whenever someone tells me, like, oh man, you really suck at Japanese, like 2 years ago, it's like, you can still tell me that I suck at Japanese now to talk about Japanese because I keep using English, and I would not be fazed, because I can tell you what I learned. I can tell you what I did. I mean, I'm doing it right this very moment. I have no qualms with what I have achieved. What that other person is talking about is they're talking about an endpoint that is important to them, and good luck to them for achieving that. I'm satisfied whether or not I become fluent in Japanese. I've recorded, I've done many things that, despite never becoming fluent in Japanese, if someone is so worried, it's like, oh man, if you keep using Duolingo, you'll just be Duolingo fluent. It's like, that's okay. I'll do something with that. I'll learn to take my lessons from becoming Duolingo fluent. Literally, someone has said this to me. The video comments are still there. So I'm glad that person was brave, like at least stood by their words, because they literally said that, oh yeah, you know, you don't learn a language in Duolingo, you become Duolingo fluent. That's not learning a language, because Duolingo fluency is not the same as, that's their term. That's the derogatory, in my opinion, the derogatory term to like show the snobbery of this person. And my thought is like, then I'll be Duolingo fluent, and then we'll convert that Duolingo fluency slowly and steadily with another tool or another challenge. It's like, what did you do to me? Are you trying to shake my confidence? I can't be shaken if I get reward from what I do each and every day. This very argument that we're having, we can argue for the next 5 years if you want. The question is, are you going to keep arguing with me because I'm motivated to present a better argument next time? And most people don't stay long enough to do that because, in my opinion, they aren't consistent or motivated to want to improve or become more cultured. And that's fine, right? Because they have time to go do the things that motivate them. If the thing that motivates them is to sit around and attack every Duolingo user, good luck. I mean, I'm not a police officer. I don't white knight for that. But that guy that did say those things, that person literally said, yes, I will do just that. I will go and tell people how corrupt this corporation is and how they're utilizing and targeting people who want to learn a language by milking them for all they want. It's like, good luck. I don't wish you ill will, but spending a life of confrontation and refining it, I guess that person will get very good at attacking other Duolingo users. I have no idea. It's not my responsibility, right? However, I can tell you that rarely with motivation and consistency is my resolve ever shaken. The greatest asset, though, when you're interacting with people who disagree with you, who challenges you, is you get stronger. You improve upon it. Yeah, imagine being mad 24/7. Yeah, I can't, it would drive me insane. I mean, you might be thinking like, well then, do you worry each and every day? I worry 24/7. I said that yesterday. I worry 24/7. And in order to balance my concerns 24/7, I do this. This is how I stop worrying. I do something and I hope to improve upon it. It doesn't stop the worrying though. Like, oh, like when someone brings up a worry, it's like, I get you. It's empathize. I empathize with that. But what I'm saying is, if you let it control you, then yeah, you're going to be sad and demotivated 24/7 of the time. That's actually reassuring because you always feel odd that you don't really have a firm fluency goal. You just like being able to talk and write even barely. Yeah, right? And the thing is, if you're able to express that, you're firm, like not having a firm goal, but still really happy to do things. If you're able to express and communicate that, the people around you will likely be like that too. Which, it's not a coincidence that we're having this conversation right now. You like doing it, at least until you have to do math and counter. That's fair, right? It's a balance. What I'm saying is, it doesn't have to be all or none, right? It has to be a winning combination, a sufficient combination. So there are other ways to do this. For Meg's up to Meg question, there are other ways to achieve that. You can get motivation somewhere else. So for example, money is motivation too, right? So if you work, and work is not the source of motivation, so you don't like going to work. When you are working, that's the process. But if you get a lot of money, that's another source of motivation. And if the money, the source of that motivation, is greater than the thing that you're not getting motivation, then you can spend the motivation from the money to keep on working. I didn't talk about that because the person was asking, how do I find the motivation? and consistency. It's not money. Otherwise, like, subscribe and share, and oh, don't forget to hit the donation button. No, I'm kidding. But that's what I mean. Like, other people have other motivations that offset the task that they have to do. So you can do that too, and that's worth brainstorming. When someone says, well, it can't be helped, I hate studying. All right, so now we build something else. If you say you hate studying, but you have to do it to reach the goal that you want, now it's time to improve everything else around your life. Where's the other thing that you're going to do, right? Sometimes you might only be studying for 30 minutes. So what are you doing the other 4 hours? Can you improve something there? So in a way, it's still using the same process-oriented thinking. If your sleep sucks, then you improve that, because you're gonna have to sleep for like 6 to 8 hours, right? So that's a lot of time. Go and improve your sleep schedule. If you can improve your sleep schedule, you can spend that improvement in your sleep schedule on your studies. So you don't have to do it this way. But for me, I love doing it this way. This is my skill. I don't worry about how good I'm going to become. I worry about how good I can do something. It's interesting because a lot of times people combine those two. They combine how good they are at the moment with how good they do something. A performance is not necessarily attached to the maintenance of things. So like, a person can win a championship but still suck at maintaining their training, right? Because you can be good at any one day still. You can prep everything for one day. And it's really important that for the internet to understand that's how the internet operates. You're always building for the one day, the one shot, right? And that's a winning solution for the internet. When someone talks about, and then, you know, the dawn of the internet came something else, mental health, right? Mental health, personal relationships, longevity, burnout, all those become more frequent now because the internet doesn't emphasize the other thing, which is what happens to the other 80 to 90%. Athletes don't stay athletes for the rest of their life, right? In fact, let's take Olympians. Olympians work at the sacrifice of everything for those moments, but they still have the rest of their life too. And that's when they can recover from that. When you're thinking about consistency, that's where that consistency comes from. So you don't see those things. You see people who like go hardcore for like 6 months before their like bodybuilding competition, right? But then fill in the gaps of all the other things that they're going to do, because that will be the rest of their life. So when you're young, it's very appropriate. You can find motivation elsewhere to fuel your like hustle in the current time. I'm too old for that. Like, what I mean is, no one is telling me like, hey, you should be, here's a challenge. I'll give you $10 million to become fluent in Japanese. It tried to become fluent in Japanese in 2 years. Like, huh, that sounds like a fun challenge that I might take up. And I said might because honestly, I wouldn't even do it for 10 million. I simply would do it because I can. Or I would do it because whether fail or success, it would still be kind of fun to see if it's possible. But I'm not incentivized to do that. My motivation doesn't come from demonstrating to people how awesome I am. It comes from doing things I want to do progressively. Having something to take your mind off worries helps you too. Yeah. Yep. I think for the most part, that is one of the most reliable common behaviors online. or like, I'm not saying you specifically, but the way to get motivation and consistency, most people divorce it from their work. So like studying and learning is considered work most of the time. When you get older, when you want to learn something, it becomes less like work. Like you're not telling yourself it's work. So then it's the consistency game. So as people get older, it often sounds like older people or more experienced people have have less problems committing to things. And that comes with experience, because ultimately the thing that they're doing ends up being the source of motivation, and not because they have a lofty goal or some goal that they're trying to rush to get to. When you're younger, it makes sense. So this is a grain of salt. My perspective is coming from the idea that I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. When someone says, all right, I'm gonna cram and learn all these things in Japanese for a year, they think that after the year, they're never going to have to do that again. And if they do think that, they're never going to become consistent with it. Because you don't need to you don't have to plan to be consistent if you think that once you pass the N5 exam, you never have to go over N5. You just have to grunt through it. So one way to do that is keep yourself motivated some other place, because you're going to hate the process, right? Like 90% chance you're going to hate the process, because all you're thinking about is the process is the ends, is a means to an end. So there's nothing useful in between. So you have to get yourself pepped, like get good sleep, eat good food, make sure yourself is healthy, go party hard, right? Party hard and safely, and leave enough time for you to feel miserable studying each day so that you can get what you want. So that is a young person's game, in my opinion, and it works. That's the internet way, it's the internet hustle. You power through, you commit yourself and say, I'm going to move to Japan for 2 years. No holds bar, do it hard, and you will learn Japanese. But that also means that you're only planning for that period, and you hope that period never occurs ever again. So what they learn is how to hustle, and you get good at the hustle. When someone asks me, how are you so consistent? I don't practice the hustle. So like I sacrifice my time. Like it's a pros and cons game. It's a compromise. While I'm working on my consistency, I'm not that great with the hustle. When someone says, oh yeah, can you speed run Spanish? I'm like, absolutely not. I could try, but it's gonna be hecka slow, man. It's gonna be slower than most people who think they can speed run Spanish. I'm not looking for the fastest way to do something. I'm looking for the most consistent way to do something. So if someone asks me, oh, how long are you gonna, like if I ask you for help, how long do you think it'll take you to help me get good grades at university? I would be able to tell you that by by collecting information from you, because I worked on consistency. I didn't work on hustle. If you ask a hustler, hey, I want to get A's on my standardized tests in a year. It's like, okay, I'll give you a 1-year program. Here's your 1-year program. Follow these steps and you'll get it. That's the hustle. And if you fail to do that, it's like, oh, you didn't hustle enough, man. You didn't follow my instructions. You had to commit all the way. And then what does that leave me? That person who fails, everyone who fails the hustle, the first question they'll ask me is, how do you do this without hustling? Like, and that would be the question. They would be asking me, how do you stay consistent? It's like, well, the first thing is to realize that it's not a hustle. You've heard this time and time again in language learning journeys. You can tell who the hustler is, and you can tell who the journey, the traveler, The journey goer is, and I'm the journey goer. I legitimately stand by those things. And you'll hear multiple things, but the most consistent people that do these the longest is, of course, the journeymen, the journey people, because they're going to be in it for the longest time, or like long, not relative to progress, but long as in they are expected to consistently enjoy the things. The people who are hustling are not expecting to do that. They are, 1 year, I'm going to get my N5 done. Year 2, I'm going to get my N4 done, and then never think about it again. In fact, I've been talking to someone who behaves like that, and they're very successful. They talk in a way like, oh, I'm going to pass this exam, and then I'm never going to have to do it again. I'm going to skip this because I'm never going to have to do it again, right? Because I already did it. And that's good because they put all their efforts into grinding hard and doing it all at once. And it's the trade-off. Now, some people would ask then, but who would get ahead in the end? You know what I mean? Like, oftentimes, like, but to what end? Like, by the time you're 60 years old, who is more likely going to be more happier? This is coming from someone who's goal-oriented. Like, the hustler person, the goal-oriented person, would ask this question and posit it to me most of the time, because I don't have that oriented thinking anymore. When I was younger, I did. Again, people can change too. When I was younger, I behaved the same way. I count down the days. Like, there's 4 years in high school. What can I get done in 4 years? And once high school is gone, I can forget about it and we move on to college, right? Those are the things. But when you get older, your perspective kind of change. But some people might still stay in that lane when they're older, like around my age. So I get asked this question where someone is like, so don't you, what do you think? Do you think being consistent most of your life will get you further than bouncing hardcore over and over again and get further? And my answer, typically from like a kind of a rational way, is it's probably statistically negligent. That's kind of the great thing about the human perspective. If you clone yourself, right? If you clone yourself or have a parallel universe, and you're asking, like, if you compared the deviation, like if you wanted to live your life consistently as opposed to being a hustler for the rest of your life. By the way, I'm not using hustler in like the deceptive way. I'm talking about someone who hustles along, like someone who's like really fast. I don't like using the word speed running, because speed running would suggest that you're successful, which speedrunners are not always successful. So someone who is encouraged to keep on moving very fast, right? Someone who stays young in that nature. And my argument, and you can't, it's difficult to prove this because you would need like the same person to do two different things, right? There are often far too many variables. If I were to be conservative though, I think both of the people will get to relatively the same place, because you can be consistent at hustling. And how do you get consistent at hustling? I talked about that yesterday, where like you can go hard 1 year, take a break for 3 months, go hard again for 1 year, take a break for 3 months, go hard again. So, you know, you get the whole rabbit and hare comment, right? I understand that other people would say, well, the idiom is that if you're slow and steady wins the race situation. It's like, I disagree. It's both. You can find instances where the fast and quick wins the race because it achieves a goal in the interim faster. Because remember, in life, when you have slow and steady, you know, someone who's slow and steady would be like this. They would have a fixed rate. But someone who goes hard could be like this. But overall, by the time you get to a point, there's a chance it's going to be negligible. Like, both of the individuals will reach a specific time. This is really exaggerated. It's just that the rate changes abruptly, right? And here's the thing. Someone might argue, oh, the turtle will win, because the hare would encounter more roadblocks. Every time they have to start again and stop, these are all roadblocks. Well, hear me out. When the turtle is slow and steady, what if the opportunity was right here? What if the opportunity thresholds were here? That means the turtle will consistently miss these opportunities while the hare hits these opportunities. So, a lot more complicated than that. Idioms are great when they like fit your type of perspective, but life is, they have lots of gates, right? And then this is specifically talking about one thing. The turtle and the hare thing is about one goal. The goal was to get to this position, but the question is, what kind of goal are you thinking of? I assure you that I rarely feel like I ever get to my goal. Like, what I mean is, that goal that people are talking about, this goal, as I approach, you know, let's draw this, like, as I approach this goal, like, this is the finish line, this is my starting position right now. As I get to the goal, wherever I'm meandering, the goal keeps moving. So eventually this goal is an average goal. It's my existing goal because I will be in this position and it will be close to it. So that means I will have new, longer goals as I'm going. So that original goal is always going to be somewhere further down the road. However, when I get to this goal, it's like, oh yeah, I remember when my goal was to pass the N5, but now my goal is to pass the N4. It's like, that's neat. I got past the N5, that's great. But my eyes are already set in the next direction while I'm passing all the goalposts. So you stay consistent. The way you do is you keep trucking along, because eventually you'll get to the goal, but that's not going to be the end of the journey. The journey goes by it. And sometimes, like, the craziest part is life is really weird, right? Life is really weird. So you might have a goal here, right? And you're starting to go towards it. And then someone comes along. This is where the hare example. When an opportunity strikes, so an opportunity gets hit, then you like stray and then you end up going to a different goal entirely. That's the hare advantage. If you're constantly hustling to get to a goal, then you can end up going into a different direction. That may be greater, that may be better than where you were originally heading. So it can happen to the turtle as well, but it is less likely to happen to the turtle. And what the turtle does is they keep moving their goalposts away, because they will be consistent enough to get to the goal. But their goal is consistently also getting further and further. Like, you're maintaining the distance. A hare will look like, all right, you know, this is the hare. It's like, here's my goal. Like, bam, right? And then they decide on a new goal. Bam. Bam, right? But that also means that they are susceptible to, okay, so what happens when you hit a goal and you stop? Then that's tragic. So it would take a very long time to find a different goal. So that slowdown right there is what will be the equalizer. And that's what I mean by, if you think about it, there's a very high chance that both the hare and the turtle will reach, if they are a different version of themselves. So they're like the person as a hare, the person as a turtle, it's probably relatively negligible by the time you get to the end, as long as you're moving towards your goal, right? What is a guarantee way to, there's a third scenario with whoops, I keep drawing a graph. There's a third scenario between the turtle, the hare, and the quitter. So it doesn't matter what animal you choose. If that animal chooses to stop, then it doesn't matter which way you're going, you're going to fail. That's the quitter, right? So whenever someone's asking, how do you be consistent? I think to be now going full back around, both the hare and the turtle do require some sort of consistency. And the question is, where is it coming from? So that means often is, where's your source of motivation, right? And then how much control can you have over that motivation? Someone who is a turtle, their motivation comes from something largely what they can control. A lot of times they have more control over it, but that doesn't mean the hare can't succeed either. The hare can also succeed because they understand where their motivation comes from, and their motivation comes from windfalls a lot of times, or seizing opportunities. So what do? They get consistent at seizing opportunities. So to give you an example, I could use Bunpro likely for many years. 4 years, that's a turtle game, right? However, the hare could use Bunpro for 6 months. Then they're gonna move on to Satori Reader for 6 months. Then they basically extracted everything from Satori Reader. Now they're gonna go and watch their favorite podcast. Throw in another 6 months. Then they're gonna go and translate their favorite novel in Japanese, right? There goes another 1 year, right? Meanwhile, what the turtle does is they're gonna use Bunpro for 4 years, Satori Reader for 3 overlapping years, the podcasts for another 4 overlapping years. The idea is the turtle is gonna stack. The turtle slowly stack everything on its shell and go along. Like, they do all of them consistently and stack on top each other as they're building. So the turtle gets stronger at carrying more things because they're moving slower. It's safer to carry more things and work on more things when you're moving slowly. It is not safer for the hare to do many things at once and be consistent with the many things at once while moving fast, because if you trip, that's gonna suck. So that's kind of my expansion of the turtle and the hare situation, right? You still will get all the things if you learn how to do it. And that was the biggest so the TLDR, right, is how do you achieve goals that you need to reach? And then in the context of motivation, one must know where it's coming from and how to get more. And it has to be more, and for consistency to exist, it has to be more than you're spending. Motivation is a currency that you must replenish and keep stockpiled for the hare. For the turtle, it has to be greater than the rate you're consuming. So for the turtle, it's a rate. For the hare is usually a stockpile situation, like a payment, pay and earn situation. So your sources of motivation has to be paid by other things as much as possible, so you can go hard when you need to spend that motivation. So these are like 2 types of students that and everywhere in between. If you look at the spectrum, the hare and the turtle are on opposite ends of the spectrum for students when it comes to learning. And these are theoretical, these are archetypes. I already done this right up before, like archetypes, and humans are anywhere in between. You are a balance of a hare and a turtle style, to generalize a bit. And the idea is, if you're more turtle, you have to find something in the process. Any of your process, but it generally is the task that you're involved in. If you're a hare, you're looking for other sources that will pay for it, and they have to get better at it. And you know what's funny about that? The other sources, they are turtles of the other sources. What's turtles' hare situation? The goals. The tools they use are the hare situation for turtles. So, what is Bunpro? It's a hustle. Bunpro, Wanikani, Duolingo, all of them is a hustle. Because the turtle is all of them. All of your tools will be with you as a turtle. That's why the journey matters. The hare, you're going to look for the thing you like, which is the turtle thing. Basically, if you like video games, keep playing video games. Because you will naturally use video games as a source to pay for your hustles. Because once you finish a hustle, you're never returning back to it. So when you finish Bunpro, you're never coming back to Bunpro. When you finish Wanikani, you're never coming back to Wanikani. So who's going to pay for the motivation it took to graduate, to finish Wanikani and stuff? The thing you have as a turtle, which is video games, doom scrolling, watching cat videos. You're gonna need those. So in no way is any one person ever purely a hare and a turtle. It's a balance of those two. So long story short, you have to know, in order to achieve your goal, where your source of your motivation is coming from, right? And if your source of motivation is more than your spending, then that is how you create consistency. Now, that's a really general, TLDRs are very general. There are a lot of things that you can do that you can create this, dichotomy. And there's habit formation. You can look into habit formation. I don't know, dopamine response. There are quite a lot of technical jargon that other people focus on, like the idea of optimizing for habits, which I do talk about. I don't really talk about dopamine response, like short-term burst dopamine response and trying to wean off instant gratification. I usually talk about delayed gratification. I don't typically focus on instant gratification, which is why I say that I'm more of a turtle than I am a hare when it comes to these things. So finding someone and asking someone that kind of resembles what you're looking for. So when you know where your motivation is coming from, then you can find it. You can go and find characteristics of people that will give you your answer. For now, I usually interact with people who are online, and I usually interact with people who are in their teens, like 16 to 18 years old, or on the transition to college, and most of them are hares. Because when I was it's not that it's always true. When I was a teenager, I was a hare too. Mostly, literally by the time when I entered college, I already calculated how long it takes me to graduate. All right, all these things have to happen. This thing has to happen on year 1, year 2. I got to get a 4.0 on everything. Do just enough to get all the 4.0s and then move on to the next thing and then move on to the next thing. I'm even planning for things to happen and assume they're going to happen in order to keep on planning for the next hustle. For you, Beth, when you were talking about it's so reassuring that you might feel odd that you don't really have a firm fluency goal, that works when you're a consistent person, because having an incredibly firm goal also limits your potential when you're being consistent. Oftentimes, and this is one of the dualities that I think is really demotivating. When you're treating something like a hustle, I'm using hare and turtle because it's kind of cuter and I don't want to use like negative words. So when you're acting like a hare right now and you're focused on a goal, that's good. That's good. But when you're a hare and you're asking someone for a solution that requires that you'll be a turtle, then this is gonna suck. So when people ask me for recommendations and advice, I have to determine what is their current mindset. And it's never going to be the same throughout their life and with the thing that they're talking about. So they could be very hustly when they are talking about studying like a language, but they could be very turtley when they're talking about video games. So recommendations, advice has to come with their mindset. When you, I feel like this is what happens with 18-year-olds to 21-year-olds online. They think they want to hustle. They want to go fast and get results. And then they look to an answer. They find people who are turtles because turtles are consistent. And turtles are, quote unquote, the current successful people. And what I mean by the current successful people, we're talking about someone who spends like 30 hours making one video that only lasts like 3 minutes. Those are largely turtles. Turtles are the end game. And what I mean by that is the older you get, the more likely you are talking about the journey. Time dilates for humans. The older you get, the longer time seems. So oftentimes whenever people think about successful people, they're looking at older people who have lots and lots of consistent experience. So these kids, in my opinion, typically look for solutions that are kind of detached from what their mindset is right now. And if you're wondering, so then how can you get an expert to be useful to you? You have to find an expert that does hustles. And the downside of that is you can only get so much empathy from a human that no longer experience certain things. And I say this a lot, a grain of salt, right? I tell you what I do, I tell you what I observe, and you have to encourage the person. Now, tell me what you think is important from what I just said. What is important to you? Because eventually you have to develop that. Otherwise, you don't know if you're going down a trip where it's literally going to suck and no one can help you with it because it's that you suck. And I'm not saying that as a get good situation. I'm saying this is inappropriate. You have a mindset that clashes with the person you're like asking questions or looking for inspiration. Hear me out. There's always, I'm not saying it never works. There's always the chance that the hare becomes a turtle from following someone. Right? Eventually it's going to happen, or like in certain ways, you're going to go back and forth. You're going to become influenced. So I'm not saying it because it sucks, that doesn't mean it's going to fail. That's not what I'm saying. You can succeed and fail regardless of how appropriate or inappropriate things are grouped together, right? And the justification for this is, in fact, motivation is one of them, right? If someone tells you you can never run a marathon and they just say you can never run a marathon, right? That's so general that the person's like, well, you didn't tell me how I can run the marathon. I mean, I could spend 3 years running a distance until it equals a marathon. That's what I mean by mindset, right? So it is possible regardless. How much it sucks is definitely in the mindset. I don't know. This analogy is pretty good, but I really like that. Whatever you said, Beth, kind of triggered it. I haven't used this analogy before, but it actually kind of is cute. The hare and the turtle are buds, okay? I'm just saying. They just disagree on how they get to the place, you know? If you're a cat, then you can be a cat too if you want. I don't know how to describe a cat's situation, but if you see yourself as a cat, that's fine too. If you're a doggo, that's fine too. Know that you know, what would a cat look like? I feel like a cat would be like something like this. And a doggo would be like the hare would just be it. And then of course the turtle would be, yeah, you know, not really going too far out the beaten path. Where I'm obviously projecting of the typical, and then they're all going to reach their, you know, house party, however way they get there, they're gonna reach the house. That's the, as what I'm saying is the consistent, the way you know it's working is that you're gonna get to the house is because you have sufficient motivation. Then you spend. So no matter what you do, no matter what technique you're going to, it's gonna feel like you've reached the house. And yeah, definitely, it's an excellent question. I actually answer the motivation and consistency question the most. It is the most frequently asked question, for sure. All right, that's a really great way to end the Bunpro session today, because that's usually the most auspicious time to end with my final remark, right? That's a wrap for Bunpro today. If you're gonna watch this later, arigatou gozaimasu, right? As always, feel free to follow along, pick up Bunpro for yourself, give it a go. You're always welcome to come on by, yap, ask questions, exchange ideas, argue, debate, keep each other motivated, right? Okay. Until next time, 皆さんまたね。見てくれてありがとう. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna get up, stretch, walk around, take a quick bathroom break, and I'll be back for Hanzo Hero. Thank you, thank you.